All right, my friends. Here we are, the long-awaited episode 17. I've had a couple requests in the past to do multiple people, and I've always just been like, I don't want to adjust the format. But then Mr. Henrik here came to me and was like, hey, what if we did a kind of a round table for role players? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, I just thought it was such a great idea. I've had previous role players on the Pwncast before, and to me, those ones are really good because there's a lot more story involved. Obviously, I mean, role playing is storytelling, and all that. Lucy, it's her second time on here. Actually, her Pwncast episode has the highest amount of views on both Spotify and YouTube, and so it's an honor to have her back here again. But man, let's go around just a little bit, guys. Kind of, introduce yourself. Tell us what guild you're in. And don't get too in the weeds with it, but tell us high level, what kind of characters there are. What does your guild stand for? Let's start with Slip. You're at the top of the list here, so.
All right. Well, I'm Slip. I am the newly appointed guildmaster of the Brigand Encampment as of a few days ago. We are a guild of highwaymen and bandits, thieves, just general buffoons. And we really like creating unique experiences for the server, whether it's robbing people on the road or going through the dungeon with a mixed herd of thieves and PVMers or murderers, and just kind of shaking people down. We've done a few like sobriety checkpoints where we will ironically be drunk as hell and be pulling people over and making them walk lines and stuff. So we really just like to make a unique experience for people. We do play the evil side of things. So, but we like to keep it. We like to make things fun for people. We don't take the game too seriously.
You can't with these kind of pixels, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, for sure.
All right, Henrik, let's hear it, man.
So my main character is named Henrik, obviously. I'm the leader of a guild called the Conclave of Shadows, and it's an evil cult, basically, dedicated to the original UO bad guys, the Shadow Lords. So we, rather than being sort of in-your-face evil, we do behind, the man behind the curtain, sort of deep corruption, spy, that sort of evil cult behind the scenes. You'll feel our effects, but you'll never see us, sort of deal.
That's really cool. I like that. That's cool. And then Bob Vance here with the coolest shirt here. Sorry, Lucy, I know I just said I liked your shirt, but Bears, Beats, and Battlestar Galactica. I mean, it's The Office, right? So anyways, man, tell us about Path, brother.
All right. I'm pretty sure a lot of people already know what Path is, and just everybody sees them as the world police. That's one of the main focuses that we do, is try to make sure that Abaddon itself is safe as much as possible from anybody that's trying to do nefarious deeds. Usually, it's to be able to go ahead and get the real bad guys, the ones that are attacking like noobs and like level 1 bases and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, all we do is the same thing as everybody else. Just try to play this game, have fun, and we try to make sure that it's a positive experience for everybody else.
That's great. That's great. Now, I don't always steal from noobs, but you guys just murder. It's fun because during the weekday, I like to farm with you guys down in time, and then on the weekend, you guys murder me. I'm just kidding. Awesome. All right, Lucy, let's hear it.
So I'm Lucy Rambles. I have a whole bunch of characters, but I primarily play with Sir, the Knights Guild. We kind of I think we'd like to say that we're chaotic good, but we're probably a little more sort of lawful through that whole spectrum. Mostly knights, but we do have friars and townsfolk and, virtue-abiding people and people on redemption arcs of all sorts. We maintain Hailstone, a player-run town, sort of east of Prevalia, and
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be able to go to one of the ceremonies, a knighting ceremony, and I always thought that was really cool. And then I think we went and killed an Omni afterwards, which was fun as well. So
yeah, we have a bit of a tradition with our knighting ceremonies, where after we do a knighting ceremony, we do this thing called Loot the Recruit, where we run a mini boss or something, and all of the loot goes to the newly dubbed knight. But it's always, they always think that it's them that's going to die and we're going to loot them. So it's always a bit of a fun little twist.
That does sound like it. That's where I thought the story was going. All right, Barg Talk, man. Mr. Urk himself. Let's go.
Yes, so my main character is Bartok, and I'm the war chief in the Bloodrock clan. We're playing a bunch of green skin orcs that's often get chased by Pat and the Sir guys when we're out doing evil deeds. So we try to take the realism of Dungeons and Dragons and put it into a game like Ultima Online, where you play the intelligent monster, the advanced IE. So to promote the fun for ourselves and, of course, everybody that we play together with.
I like it. And you run around yelling, Nugra!
Yeah, I've heard you on on a lot of your podcasts and the movies you've made too.
It's great. It's great.
So
All
we
right.
love chasing humans and asking for tribute, of course.
Yep. Okay. Shint Zair Malarn. Did I say it right? I've actually never tried to say it before.
Most people just call me Shin, but Shin Zair Malorn. Or other people know me as Zekel. I am a Dark Council member over there at Vile. We are an evil guild. We have drow, we have undead, we have vampires. Our Grey Dwarf or Dwergard sec is slowly coming back into play there, so we got little stubbies too. I mean, basically just an evil guild, and we like to have fun. It's just a good group of people, and if you need something, just let us know.
And then, what as far as like D&D style alignment, let's just kind of jump in and say, what alignment you guys would be, and this goes for anybody, and then why maybe.
Our drows tend to be more towards the chaotic evil because that's where they are and where they're role played. I mean, there's most of it's like either neutral or just straight up like evil, but some of them are like lawful evil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind of up to the player, really, like how far they want to go, and they want to be nice at all. But a lot of times, if you're out mining out there, outside of the lair of eternal darkness, you're probably going to get eaten, especially if you go in the cave and mine there, disturbing the vampires' sleep.
Eaten, stolen from, just about anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awesome. And then somebody else?
Well, we are definitely more lawful evil. So I don't know how familiar everyone is with Ultima lore, but the whole thing with the Shadow Lords is they want to destroy all the shards. But they're not necessarily they're aggressive, but they're smart about it. And we stay deeply in character at all times. And our characters will have seen the Pathfinders, will have seen the Knights Guild. They vastly outnumber us, and they're far better fighters. So if we were out there trying to light their castle on fire, they would just come crush us. Yeah. So we lean more lawful evil, and we're behind the scenes trying to pull the strings because we can't fight them in a pitched battle. We just get slaughtered.
Very political, right?
Yeah. Behind the corrupting shadiness behind the scenes versus in your face, scream a Nugra and charge the gates.
It's interesting that COS to be more behind the scenes and political, and you're the one who set this up, this whole meeting right here, and it's very fitting, right? It's very fitting. So that's cool. All right, somebody else.
We could take the Bloodrock clan, and we are chaotic evil, all of us. There's nothing no order or anything discipline about us. We are complete chaos and complete evil.
Yeah.
And of course, the smarter side, the Drow and COS and some of the brigands, they are more like controlling us behind the scenes, and we are the main force that charges in and yells Nugra and ready to fight everybody.
I love it. I love it.
So
with the
sometimes you
snotlings
become
in
the pawn of
charge.
Yeah, of course, we send the snots first, so that you will die a lot if you play the Bloodrock clan, that's for sure.
Yeah.
If you don't get killed out on a battlefield, you can get killed just for standing on the wrong side of our lineups. Or if you meet a grunt in a bad mood, he will kill you too. So
Yeah. Awesome. Someone else?
I'll chime in. So I would say that the brigand encampment leans very heavily towards chaotic evil. However, we have a pretty wide breadth of players. Some I would say might even be neutral, just like harvesters and such. But a lot of them end up getting recruited during robberies and such. So they do, there are times for some of these like harvesters, for instance, might have some like players that they might patrol with us, as we call it, where we run around and rob people. But I would say the 80% of us are probably chaotic evil as well. We do live by a creed on how we, our behavior. So there is maybe a little sprinkle of lawfulness in there and following our own creed. But other than that, we're mostly evil.
Yeah. What is that? If they tend to give you a beer or something on the road, then you can't kill them.
We try not to kill. More or less that, and we try not to kill new adventurers. Or if we do, for like the experience of it, we try to make sure they're taken care of, like not looted, or it really varies. But not killing people on sight. There's a number of different scenarios, but that largely that, and just taxing people. People need to pay tribute, and so just things like that, really.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, either Bob or Lucy.
Ladies first.
So I kind of already jumped the gun on that one, but like I said, I feel like the knights tend to trend a little chaotic good, but really that whole top bar of the alignment chart, the newer alignment chart, if anyone's familiar with classic D&D, we're definitely run that whole gamut. And some people might drift a little into neutral or even evil. It's mostly good though, at least presenting good.
Yeah, they kind of all have their own story. Is that kind of like what you were saying? Yeah, that's really interesting. That's cool. All right, Bob, I think I have an idea, but let's hear it.
Path, I would say, probably heavily aligns more with the neutral good. Like we do want to follow the law, but sometimes people can kind of bend the law, or they can get around the mechanics of the game. And so sometimes we have to take things in our own hands and take a few counts to be able to go ahead and help the greater good. But ultimately, it's always for the greater good. What's going to keep everybody, in a safer environment.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, while you're on the hot seat, tell us about the birth of your guild. This one's, again, we'll kind of go around, but tell us about the birth of your guild, a little bit of the history, and then just kind of where it fits in the role-playing universe. Who you're allied with, who you're against. I know some of that we've kind of lightly touched on, and then maybe what the end game goal for you guys' guild is.
All right. So when you're saying the formation of the guild, are you talking about just how it really happened in game, or the RP version of it?
The RP, more the RP version.
All right.
Yeah.
So the RP version of it is, let me see, it was over in the Forest Glade, where the three rulers had kind of met to be able to kind of discuss, hey, can we be able to establish a kind of peace between the three major kingdoms? I think it was Andaria, Prevalia, and Cambria. And when the guards finally came back over to where all the leaders were, they were gone, and there was a Black Moon Gate there. So everybody kind of like, okay, what's going on here? Let's go back over to our main bases. So I think it was King Alan was the one that was over there, and we had Iaric the Fourth that was with us, and he was the king for a day for 24 hours. So when we were coming back to Prevalia, as the soldiers guarding him, we were ambushed by ratmen, and we just kind of got pushed back into what is now Haven, over there in the Sacred Water POI of the map. And yeah, so we just fought tooth and nail against the ratmen, and finally, came out on top. But the king who was supposed to be was killed in the process. And in this whole fight, we lost so many people in there. We were like, you know what? All this, these kings, these emperors, these would-be rulers, they don't give a crap about us. They don't give a crap about the people. They're just in this for their own power, their own struggle. They forgot about the people. They're just thinking about themselves. So we established Haven to be able to go ahead and allow people to come over there and be a craftsman, be a woodsman, be a whatever it is that you wanted to be without being accosted, without being under the thumb of some other ruler who wants to go ahead and tax you. So that's kind of where we started establishing ourselves, and it's been a nice endeavor to be able to go ahead and build out the village. It's in there, and it was a lot of teamwork to be able to go ahead and get that going, because when the server initially started, there was a land rush, and everybody was trying to go ahead and get as much money as we could.
Yeah.
And, I mean, gosh, it was interesting. I mean, everybody had at least a tamer with them to be able to go ahead and skin sheep, and just to be able to get all that wool, to be able to make bandages and fight and get that money so they can get the land. Yeah.
So was Path one of the? Has Path been here since pretty much the birth of the server?
Yes.
Yeah. See, I'd heard a lot of good stories about it. I unfortunately I came a little bit after Cavernim was released, and I really wish I could have been here at server launch, because all the going out and getting wood and making bows and like you said, just skinning sheep and stuff, and the race for land. I think that would have been a lot of fun, man. And it sounds like it worked out for Pat.
It was. I mean, we did. We had a lot of people chopping wood, a lot of people killing harpies, and we were just getting the feathers off of them. And literally, we funded Haven off of selling arrows and bolts.
Yeah,
millions and millions of gold for that.
How did and I don't know if this is part in it, but how did Path get here? Was it similar, like they went through, you may have said it, through the Black Moon Gate, or how did they get here to Abaddon?
We were old Prevailing guards.
Okay.
So we were the guards for the Prevailing king, and then we were coming back with the 24-hour king who got killed in the process of us trying to guard him, and then we said, we're done.
Yeah.
We're done. We're doing our own thing now.
That's it. Okay. Okay, let's hear from you, Lucy. Let's hear from you, Lucy, and talk to us about Sir.
So I'm probably the wrong person to tell this story, because I've only been with Sir for a couple of years, and they're a rather old guild. But my understanding of the guild's origin is that we originally came from UO Forever. The Knights Guild was formed there, and I don't know how large it was at the time, but after Outlands launched, a scouting party of knights went through a dark moon gate and found themselves on New Cerro Isle. And I believe that at the time they had established a small tower or something in the area, and that was the Knights Guild for a brief time. After a little while, that tower crumbled, and the knights kind of scattered across Abaddon. Some went to various other guilds, others, goodness only knows where. We later learned that there was something of a time differential between Abaddon and the Shard of UO Forever. And what had only been, a few weeks or months for the UO Forever Knights had been decades here in Abaddon. So they sent a new party to go try to find the knights, and came through, and what happened here? This tower that bears the Knights Guild insignia is crumbled and gone, and oh my gosh. And then they went and rounded up other knights and formed Hailstone as it now exists. Finding the knights that had been scattered across Avedon and uniting them under a common banner.
That's good. So Sir ruined something for me, and this is really funny. So I wanted to do a dungeon lore series, right? And the first dungeon I picked was Nucero. And so, reading the research material notes and then jumping on the forums and reading all that, because Eric had done, some different stuff like that. And then, of course, Sir came from, through Nucero and stuff. And so, like, I did this like amazing script for the Nucero dungeon lore series. And then I was super excited to jump into another dungeon. And I was like, they don't have that same lore that Sir had for it. And so I was like, I'm not even inspired to do anymore because Sir just really beefed up that dungeon. I was like motivated to do that video because of all that. It was really interesting to me. And
do the best one first.
yeah, that's the worst thing you can do, right? And so that's why I did that one dungeon lore series, and then I just haven't really. That was, I guess, 4 years ago. But either way, so yeah, that's cool. Okay, well, let's move on to you, Henrik.
Sure. So we actually, I'll age myself here, but we have ties all the way back to Atlantic. Myself and the other founder, not all the founders, but most of the other founders of COS were a member of a guild called the Order of the Ebon Skull. And anyone that's familiar with Atlantic roleplay will know OES. So the way we've tied it together is the Shadow Lords essentially witnessing the because similar to how Sir does, time moves differently to different shards and different entities. So the Shadow Lords take notice of Avedon, and with Sosaria already essentially destroyed, they turn their sights on a new shard. And so my character Henrik was one of the characters that I played back in Order of the Ebon Skull. And so we've written lore that the Shadow Lords brought him from Sosaria to Avedon to form a cult dedicated to establishing their presence on the shard so that they can work towards their end goal, which is, of course, the destruction of the shard.
Yeah.
So we tie back to the Atlantic days. So it's the newest RP guild to Outlands, but we've got ties back to 1998.
That's great.
Some folks have seen some of the stuff we've done on forums, and people that I haven't spoken to in 20 years have popped up and sent me messages like, "Oh my goodness, this is amazing! Let's get involved!" And it's been a great time.
To go off topic a little bit, it's always interesting when you run into somebody that you played this game with 20 years ago, 10, 15, whatever. And it's like, hey, wait, we were in the same guild, or you used to kill me at my house all the time, and it feels surreal and really cool when something like that happens. I like it a lot. Yeah. I like it a lot.
I think it's one of the reasons so many of us keep coming back to UO time and time again. It's this place where these stories and these connections are created that just don't exist in any other online forum that I've found anyway.
Yeah. I'm with you there. I play other games, and I only play the game. That's it. When I'm playing it, like World of Warcraft, man, I love it, and I got a group of friends that play with me, but they also play here on Ultima, and getting into the community like this right here is something that I personally haven't found in other game communities. I'm sure it's out there, right? But I just think it's a lot more readily available. It's a lot more welcoming here on in Ultima in general, and I love that. So on COS, when you guys travel from one shard to another shard, is that like a really cool ritual that happens? And I mean, how does that work?
Yeah. So we have some recruits, some folks who play characters that are native to this shard, and they part of the way to join us is they'll write a brief concept about their character and tie it into one of the anti-virtues. So all of the original Ultima dungeons, despise, covetous, they're all the antithesis of the virtues. So potential recruits will write a little concept of, it could be something as simple as, a lust for power. And so they delved into necromancy, and that got the attention of a Shadow Lord. And then we write a little hook where we go basically stalk them out in the world and role play an introduction. And then, we have a pretty in-depth initiation ritual that we run on the roof of our tower, and it's pretty cool. We usually can get a Tropa to help us out with that.
That's awesome. It's like in Elder Scrolls. I can't remember what that murder guild is. That you kill someone and then they like show up and they're like, "We want you to join or talk." You know what I mean? So
that's exactly how we do it. Yeah, we stalk them and write stories back and forth about what they've done and how that's gotten our attention, and then they end up joining us. But yes, for the people that have written characters like myself that came from Sosaria, we had an event, I don't know, 6 or so months ago where Atropa, the seer, helped us out and opened a moon gate and spawned the Shadow Lords for us, and we came through the moon gate. Yeah, it was pretty great.
I think that's really awesome. In the different RP events that I've went to, a lot of times, if not all the time, a Tropa or somebody is there, and they do those little extra things. I can remember Bargtalk, you sailed up at the siege to Winter Harbor, and you sailed up and you unleashed a bunch of orcs, and you shot cannons from the boat, and it blasted us all back. Like we spread apart, and I was just like, "This is awesome!" that doesn't happen at an iDog, right? That doesn't happen at a contested boss. And I was like, "This is really cool." And we captured the guy and all that. It was so much fun, man. But I guess
funny that you mentioned that story, because we were talking about it in the clan a few days ago, and then one of the old school orcs. That was his first event here on Outlands, and he popped into it, and he didn't really know what to expect. And then when the ship came sailing in at the Winter Harbor and began blasting everybody, all the good guys, I was even shooting at the my orcs as well. And he was like, "Holy shit, this is Ultima Online. This is the good stuff." And he has been hooked ever since.
Yeah. I saw Lucy, on Jackie was, it was some battle going on, and then there was all this hellfire coming down, and it was doing damage to everybody, and it was just really cool to see those special effects that you don't really see in the game normally. It really shows the support from the game itself, from the developers, from Owen, from Atropa, from everybody, right? And I think that's huge. I think that's very huge to kind of help, with that, because you guys are bringing the imagination, you guys are bringing the story, and then for them to be able to be like, "Yeah, we can make an explosion. Let's do it." Like that.
Yeah,
it's awesome, man. So.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like there's so much support from the seers here. And we did see a little bit of that back in like the old Catskills days on OSI. I think the Shadow Clan called them all Sky Gods, and they'd come down and they'd do some funky stuff for us. And but yeah, the support that Eric and Atropa give the roleplay community on this server it's incredible. I really can't thank them enough.
Yeah, Time Dungeon is just filled with random stuff, right?
Yeah, I agree with Lucy here too, because I had a lot of the ideas for role-playing events, for role-playing PvP events, role-play PVM events, and all the time when I message Eric or Atropa, they're always on board, and so I can play out my ID. don't want to adjust it a lot or anything. It's just we can make this work. We can make this work.
That's
of course,
really
some things needs to be tweaked, but the idea, I always feel that I get to play out my story, my idea. It doesn't get changed a lot. So we're really blessed to have those two as seers here on Outlands.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right, Bartok, tell us about the birth of Urk. This one's going to be interesting.
Well, so you had Nerul and you had Omega on your podcasts, and they've talked a little bit about it. But Bloodrock Clan, we started back in 1998 as well. So we have a pretty huge history to our clan. So a more in-depth version can be, of course, found on the bloodrockclan.com. Like every old school guild, we have a website.
What did you say? What's it called? A website? No, I'm just kidding.
Website. Yeah. So not many guilds use that anymore, and of course we try to be active on the forums too. That's pretty old school, but that's the way we like it to play it.
Mm-hmm.
So we began here on Outlands in the Smuggler's Cave. So we began just clawing our way out from there. We didn't have any houses. We didn't have anything. So the Bloodrock Clan, we actually got a lot of help from the Boulderfist clan to settle in here on Outlands. And from there, we just continued to grow slowly, putting down a few huts. And later on, of course, we got our own fort over there and the lawless area.
Mm-hmm.
So we came a long way from there. And I felt a little bit like from the story that Bob said, killing animals, skinning them, collecting feathers, chopping wood, mining iron. We've done the same in the Bloodrock Clan, and we still do it because back in the days that was like the old school way when new people joined the guild, and same when they join the clan now. We don't give a lot of handouts. It's you have to work your way up in our system because it takes a lot of time to grow in the guild. And if on average, when you join a guild now, you can make, for example, a mage straight away. When you join Urk, you probably have to play for about 2 years to be able to. Then we will consider allowing you to play a mage character. So our system is really, really hardcore. So it's not for everyone, but the players that enjoy it, the hardcore style, they love to play it because it's something unique with all the restrictions that we have.
Yeah, for anybody out there, I've played a little bit with the Urks. I actually have Putar in the Urk Guild, and I started as a Snotling. I'm still a Snotling, but I'm getting my scars, right? And I always thought that was neat. Like, my goal. They make it very simple too, because as a Snotling, you're dumb. You're just dumb. And they pick on you, right? They haze you. It's kind of like getting hazed in a frat in college. I don't know, but they pick on you, and you don't really even know how to talk, which is reality of joining Urk, right? They have their Urk language, and you see them talk, and you're trying to kind of grasp it, and it just slowly catches on to you. And then, as you see more and talk more, then you start learning more of the language. And so I think that's all really, really cool. Tremendously cool, the language especially. So
the language can be pretty intimidating for new players. I mean, when we get some new orcs, they feel like, oh, do I need to learn the entire language? No, you don't. Just get the basics right, and with playing with the clan, then you will learn more and more about the language, and you get to apply it yourself.
Yeah.
But life as a Snotling, that's a rough one, yeah.
So does it ever happen where, let's say there is a Sir guild person or a Path, and they know some of the Urk language, and they're able to kind of talk brokenly with the Urks, and then, I guess there is some language exchange for them to, at the battle scene or whatever, but is there anything like that ever?
most of the players, they play their character or are in character, so the character doesn't know Orcish. But a player like Lucy, for example, she has played in the Shadow Clan, so she knows a lot about it, so she can understand as a player what we're talking about, but her character doesn't understand it. So
yeah, that's cool. All right.
But you have,
oh, good.
I was just gonna say, we've been interacting with so many players, so it's a lot of fun when we run around in dungeons and you have players, humans running with us, or besides us, and yelling Nugra and Dabu, Grievous.
Yeah.
So they really pick it up quickly, the humans, and of course tribute. That's
oh yeah,
that's something most humans learn.
tribute. Just start throwing your shinies on the ground, and hopefully you live, right?
Yeah, if they paid tribute, then most of the time we'll let them live. Of course, if they don't give us a few gold coins, then we take it as an insult and kill you. So
yeah, great.
And there's been times where I was farming. I just started farming, so I didn't have any money on me at all. And then I get surrounded, and they're like, "Give them tribute." I'm like, "Let me kill this thing real quick." And then no, that didn't last. So I got killed. I was like, "Oh."
Everybody's got shoes, man. Everybody's got shoes.
I was once in a dungeon on Fitzel, my goblin, and I had a brigand come up to me and demand tax from Fitzel. And Fitzel didn't have anything on her at the time, so she just starts setting down like skinning knives and whatever was in her pack. And the brigand's like, you can keep, it's never mind, and just walks away. Like it's brilliant.
Speaking of brigands, Slip, tell us, man. Tell us about it.
All right, so Brigand is much older than I've been in the guild. I've been in the guild coming up on 3 years this year, and Brigand has been around for, I think, 7 now. It started off on Ultima Renaissance, I believe, and it essentially started off as they were a guild of all Dexers, no monster farming whatsoever, all PvP. And they played like I said, a band of roadway robbers and, outcasts. And essentially people would join that didn't want to have anything to do with like society and just wanted to join a band of outlaws that would run around and rob people. They had no interest in things like social status or, income bracket, so forth and so on. Like it was just, we would rather live as outcasts or criminals than play by any of like the king's or kingdom's rules, etc. When we came to Outlands, which I think was in 2021-ish, it changed a bit. So we started allowing people to play with Magery. Previously, Magery was completely outlawed, like even for healing and buffs, like that, we just didn't do it. And so we started off with a lowly wagon because, of course, the land race had already occurred. And so it started off small. I think people coming over from UOR. And then we kind of got established south of the quarry, so south of the Urkfort, which is ironically west of the Honor Shrine. And we've kind of over time acquired a bunch of property. And this has kind of become our territory where, people come in. We tax them for what we sometimes will say road maintenance or something silly. They can either play along or, they get a good chase. Oftentimes ends up with them taking a dirt nap. Yeah. So Brigand, it has and kind of always will be what it kind of sounds like. We're not necessarily evil, but we're definitely chaotic neutral to chaotic evil. We're outlaws. We like to play the part. We like to wear mixed armor. It's just like looks like something you might have pulled out of a chest and just thrown on. A lot of drunken shenanigans have always been occurring. We were big on the forums, or I guess I should say Bayar, who started it, had a lot of forum posts on UOR of like silly stories and like encounters and stuff like that. So it's, we do, each player has over time, most of the players, I should say, have like a backstory that they've been growing on. So it's like each person has their own kind of thing within the guild. And so yeah, that's kind of a little bit of the lore on the formation of Brigand was. And I should mention also that we had control of the Brigand camp on UOR between Scarabray and you. I think it was the staff gave us an alliance with the brigands, the executioners, and there was some other mob. So like we could essentially, they played like NPCs in the brigand camp. So people would come up and like they'd glare at them and be like, what do you want here? And it's like, but yeah, as Lucy said, we'll often take whatever people offer. We love taking shoes. Most of our recruits nowadays come from robberies. There was one noob that happened to recall into a group of like 12 of us just standing there on reds. And of course he was in like blueberry blue, and we're just like all like, ho-ho-hoing and like, just rough, just like shaking him down and then we're like, give us tribute, give us some gold or ale or whatever. And he's like, clearly he has nothing. He's got like the brown stable bought horse. And so we forced him to take his shoes off and not just give them to us, but then we made him put his feet in the swamp. and then he had so much fun that he found me afterwards and was like, if this is like what you guys do, like count me in. So like that's kind of how that's kind of the story of Brigand in some way, to the best that I can tell it, because I haven't been here the majority of the time, but storytelling through being a bad guy and making it fun for the other side despite us being often red. We want people to have fun.
That's probably where, and for everybody here, that's probably where the best recruits come from, is just interacting in the world and somebody interacts back, and then they probably do a lot of times message you, or there's that second run in and it's the same thing, and then that third run in and it's like, hey, you want to just jump on board or what?
Yeah, absolutely. There was one instance where I was shaking somebody down mining literally right outside of the West Prev gate, right outside guard zone, and I ran up and like, I was on him before he even realized that I was there. Maybe he was looking at a different screen. Yeah. But then like I shook him down, he was all into it, and so then I recruited him after talking to him for a bit, and he's like, "Dude, my friend will be real into this." So then we set up like an ambush where it's like he turned on his friend. I made them to fight to prove their worthiness of being a brigand. So just like, there's all kinds of like awesome dynamics that can just kind of occur naturally. It's great.
Yeah. Brigand would always shake down my miner all the time.
What's your miner's name again?
It was Magikarp and Bedbug.
Oh my God.
Rock Lobster.
The number of times I've chased after you.
Yeah, I would go splash, splash, because I was Magikarp. I would go splash, splash, and then I would just all off running, and you would kill me a lot of the times. I'd be like, damn it. But I always was next to a healer caravan. That was usually what I wanted to do, was just run to a healer caravan so I can,
get going again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah. Well, cool. All right, Shin, let's hear it, man. Tell us about Vile.
So unlike these guys, like I don't know a lot of the history of Vile. I've only been playing for like 2.5 years. I know that Vile came from a merger of a guild abbreviated VOV, which I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that first part of it.
They were the vampires, right?
Vanguard of Vale.
Yeah, okay.
So that was an old vampire guild, and of course it had some cult action and some other things, and then they ended up merging with another guild that was called Drow, which were the Drow that came in at the time. Undermountain had released, and the Drow came flooding out of Undermountain, and there's just like a lot of rich history and lore to Vile, but I just don't know all of it. Yeah, but I was hoping Soul was going to be here tonight because he would be able to explain a lot more of this, but Soul is currently traveling. He got hit with the whole CrowdStrike thing and couldn't catch an airline, so he's having to drive cross country. So he couldn't make it tonight.
Yeah. There's I'm sure this is the same for everybody, but on all my social medias, I'm seeing tons of pictures of people in the airport of like stuck. It's like, it sucks. Or I guess in your case, they're driving like because you got to get there. So,
yes, got to get back. But I mean, there's a ton of memorable stories, and kind of like Slip said just a little bit ago, we picked up a recruit in a similar situation. He was outside mining outside of the lair, and we all spotted him, and we told him to, give up his ore, for the Dwergar, and he decided not to give up his ore, so we slaughtered him right there, and then we took his sandals, and then he came back, and he's like, he wiggles his toes in the snow and he's like, my toes are cold. Can I have my sandals back? And we're like, no, you can't have your sandals back. Like, there are sandals. So he went and, got geared back out and came back over there again. And we shook him down and we stole his sandals again. And then he came back for a third time. And then he mentioned, he wanted to partake in these types of shenanigans and wanted to learn more. And it was Burzum. So he hung around for quite a while, and you just run into like a lot of different things like that. Like it can happen anywhere, anytime, and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Vile has a very special place in my heart because you guys were like the first to invite me to, an event. Right. And, I said, well, I want to make a video for it. And I did. And it was I'm very like light RP, especially at the time. It was going to be the first time I was really trying to be in character at an RP event. And be honest, man, I was a little intimidated and nervous. Right. And went over there and it was just all fun and games. And we had a good time. I think, there was a big ceremony that happened. I think I ate something. Oh, I drank from a cup and it blacked out. And it was just it was a lot of fun. And then later on, got a quest to go find Kel Mithril Forge. And that turned into something crazy. And it's been fun. I like Vile quite a bit. You guys are great. And
so speaking on that video, like whenever I joined over here on Outlands, like I was looking at like the RP scene and trying to find things, and I ran across that specific video and I was like, oh, they got Drow, they got this, they got that. And then so I literally sat outside of the lair for like a week just waiting for somebody to like show up so I could sit there and talk to them and join Vile.
Yeah.
And then finally they had their like boss night or whatever. I think it was like a Wednesday night, which they were just going along. All of a sudden they just all show up and they're like, what do you want? And then I just started role playing with them. And then I had just arrived here on Avedon and I wanted to, see what they were about. And they took me out on their little boss runs. And then we came back and then we had a little ceremony down there in the lair. And it's been good times ever since.
The best part about that is that you didn't DM them on Discord. You literally stalked their place, waiting for them to show up, which is even cooler, I guess you could say, of the whole role play thing. It's great.
Who's this guy and why has he had a tent outside our house for the past week?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, just sitting there and acting like he's one of us. So, well, cool. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. What's you guys, just anyone here? What's like a memorable role playing event that was pivotable. Is that how you say that word? Shit. For either your character or the guild itself that you're representing today.
Well, I'll start. So our foundational event. So if anyone happens to be watching this in the future, that was a part of OES or Atlantic. We had a book called the Codex of Oblivion, which was sort of
another codex.
Yeah, right.
No,
so you don't have to level. You don't have to level this one. The Codex of Oblivion, without too many spoilers, because find out in game, is sort of like the guidebook of OES and now COS. And we ran an event with huge thanks to Atropa for bringing it to life, where our characters came through a portal. And then she spawned 3 spectral pontiffs, but named them Falanai, Astaroth, and Nosventor.
Oh,
and
cool.
then we did a little ritual where we pulled the Codex of Oblivion. So we took it from the old shard and brought it to this one. And the Shadow Lords did, some emotes and everything. And that was how we founded the cult, started the guild. And it'll be. It felt like being in '98 again, while whilst being in modern times, and it was we have lots of screenshots and videos from it, and that's something that I'll hold dear and remember forever. It was such a great, 30 minutes an hour, but it'll have so much meaning for such a long time. So that was a very big, impactful one for me.
Like it. Speaking of back in '98, and your Order of the Ebon Skull, you guys remember? I think it was called the Armory, but like you would get on the UO.com and look up stuff. I like stared at my character on that all the time. But anyways, I was on Atlantic, and I do remember you guys' emblem and every. I remember that because you guys were one of the top, like had a lot of members and everything, and I always remember stalking your characters and looking at them and stuff. So I may have at one point clicked on Henrik. Who knows? I mean, I was 15, 14, 13 or whatever. So, but awesome. All right. Somebody else. That's cool, man.
I could go ahead and.
Yeah.
It must be from the first RPPVP campaign that I made. And that was when we began attacking Horseshoe Bay, because all the cracks you could see inside the city, that was the end game for that campaign. So it had an actual impact on the town itself. But the event that I remember the most, or did the most impact on the community back then, it was me and Tibble from SIR. We were organizing stuff. And this event, Urks were gonna carry explosives from A to B, and we were gonna play on foot. And the knights, of course, were gonna be carrying lances and use their horses. So the players that were pretty new to the RPPVP scenery, they couldn't cope how we, the orcs, would play on foot against someone on mount, because we were so heavily in disfavor. But that was to get people to understand that the RPPVP is not about winning; it's about playing out the story.
Yeah.
So when we did that to ourselves, it gave us that disadvantage, and of course an advantage to SIR that they could use mounts. People really began to understand more what this was all about. It wasn't about scoring factions points or getting PvP points or anything. I mean, there was no rewards. All orcs died, of course. We had no chance at winning, but we had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And for both sides, had a lot of fun. And that event sparkled more of the good community that we have now. And I mean, we were enemies in game, but we work so well together outside of the game. So I think that event was my most memorable of the ones that I've made.
I really like, you said a really big thing there, but I really like how when these big events happen, or when any of the events happen, it shapes the community, as in like, okay, now they control this, or now because this happened, then they need to go and do this now. But if it would have happened differently, they would have maybe went down this fork. And it just, you know what I mean? Like it's so cool that all that happens. And then everybody in the role-playing community, they see the story on the forum of, okay, this happened. He said this. And so I'm going to spiral off of that or arc off of that and do my story here because he said this, or they killed this person, or captured this person, or won this battle, right?
Exactly.
I think that is the coolest thing about the role-playing community. It's not just here's a story and it doesn't mean anything except for to those people involved. Like they all tend to mean something to everybody in the roleplay community, from what I can tell. And I think that's so cool.
Yeah. So how we play it, I mean, you can make a bigger campaign. So then, of course, the fights and the events, they have consequences. If you win, if you lose, the next story where we pick up will be different, depending on how the outcome from the first event was. but we also have what we call one shots. So you make a story. It could be a short one, could be a long one, and just to put some flesh on why do we fight. You just don't recall to a faction point and try to fight over it and call it a night.
Yeah.
I mean, you have some story and some flesh to why you're here, why your character is here, why your guild or clan is there, and what is the goal of the event. So it puts a lot of more meaning to it
Yeah.
than just standard PvP. At least for me, that's
awesome. That's awesome. All right, let's hear it. Someone else.
So to play off of Barg there, so you have like that Winter Harbor fight that a lot of people here have been talking about, where Barg rides in and blows everybody up. The one for me is like a precursor to that. So it was a fight over at Southreach. I don't remember exactly like what the story was, why we were fighting, but we're fighting there. I think it had something to do with you, and they were trying to hold us off or something. I think we ended up losing that fight. And then all of a sudden, Barg pulls out this big barrel and sets it across the wall. And we're all just kind of standing around just looking at it. And then all of a sudden, we are flung back probably about 4 screens away and went, what just happened? Because you just see this giant explosion and then everybody just scatters out in a multitude of directions. That's probably like the most memorable one for me there.
That's cool. Like it. It's just neat how it all it shapes everybody. You know what I mean? Like that's just super cool. Oh.
Yeah, I could jump in on that one because that was the event that was leading up to the shard-wide event that we had on the Chaos Shrine, where the Bloodrock clan we summoned the avatars of our gods.
Oh, the Quattro.
Quattro, and the shard got to fight against these big bosses. And what we did in Southreach, we tried to all the docks. We tried to destroy them, so the humans couldn't flock to the Chaos Shrine as fast as they normally would. Of course, in the actual game, it didn't make any difference, but for the role-playing story, that was what we tried to do. And of course, in Southreach, we lost the fight. But that in that event also we had put a bomb on the actual bridge. So a character with, I think it was 80 removed trap and lockpicking had to stand next to that bomb for X amount of minutes to actually disarm it. So that event had a lot of different features to it. And of course, the final scene when the bomb... I had so much fun hearing all the reactions over Discord because nobody was expecting it.
I think that was the first time something like that was used.
Yeah,
I know it was like one of my first RP PvP fights, and it's the first time I had ever seen that happen.
Yeah, me and Eric was going through the repertoire of what you could do and what tools he had available, and I was like, "Fuck this! The bomb. We need to use it. We need to use it."
Do you guys see like an influx of people reaching out to your guild or wanting to participate in role playing events when they do? When your events become a server wide event like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we get a lot of people in the different Discords. You can see in the Discord channels, not just the Bloodrock clan, but the Outlands one. You see humans commenting all the time on, what is all these orcs doing here? 20 orcs and 20 drow and 40 humans in a big battle, like the one at King's Manor, for example, that Henrik talked about previously. You had so many players over there, and people were just recalling in and just to watch the show, and they had it. So we get a lot of comments and people wanting to join after it. That's asking cool. If their guild can join, even though they are not an RP guild per se, and stuff like that.
And what's the? I guess I mean, what's the process for a guild to kind of decide they want to be a role play guild, or how does any of that work?
I mean, we're such a close and open group that really when we first formed, we did a thing with a few of the guys from your guild, from the syndicate, and they just, one of them DM'd me like, hey, we'd be curious to try a little RP. So we wrote a little story together and we ran it. So
Yeah.
all anyone from any guild would have to do is reach out to any of the people you see here, and they would be happy to help coordinate something with you.
Yeah. I I can remember when it was Rugger. He really was kind of leading the charge in Sin for the role playing part of it, and he came up with a really cool role play scenario of the murder of Emergent. And I mean, we had a lot of people really into this, trying to investigate it and figure it out, and it was a big, somewhat of a scavenger hunt, and it was just a lot of fun. And then we ultimately found out. It was broke off into multiple teams, and we found out how this all happened. It was really fun, and I missed that. But anyway, so okay, let's go on to the next memorable RP event. Somebody.
So I really wish that I had more that were more like widely applicable to the Knights Guild, because they've had some amazing stories over the years, a lot of which I've missed out on. Owain's curse with the what he did, like he what was it, cast Armageddon with Basuf to and that messed him up for a long time. There were obviously quests that the Sea Dogs have done, and just tons of wonderful stories. But for me, the most pivotal story that my character has experienced was this one night during Owain's disappearance in the void, wherever he was. Trevor and Jackie were just kind of sitting around in the tavern, lamenting and drinking. And what are we going to do? Where are we going to look? We don't know. We've run out of threads. Where's Owain? And we step out of the tavern, and there's a black moon gate there. And Jackie just kind of looks over her shoulder and she's like, Trevor. And Trevor just marches out and steps into the gate, and Jackie follows him. And we find ourselves, we didn't know at the time, but we were deep in time. This was pre-release, and we were, we showed up in the colony, and we walked out of we spawned next to I'm blanking on the name right now, Cabarrus, St. Cabarrus's tomb. And we walked out and we ran into this rat man who told us, oh, there's a town nearby. And yeah, there's been some weird nighty type people around here. Sure. So we wander over to the colony, and I don't know if anyone is terribly familiar with like Ultima Underworld, but the story of Underworld and of the Stygian Abyss and of St. Cabarrus's colony ties back to that game. And St. Cabarrus had this noble vision of a community of virtuous peoples from all walks of life, be they orc or lizard man or who knows. All people have the seed of virtue within them and can rise to goodness and greatness. And for some reason, he thought the best place for this colony would be deep in the Stygian Abyss. I don't know, lapse of judgment there, I think. But through this, we eventually found ourselves at the wall, or at the gate, facing off into the Stygian Abyss, and they were throwing. I think it was Eric, it might have been Atropa, throwing monsters at us, and we were fighting with these gate guards, and Jackie was trying desperately to keep like this one rat man gate guard healed as they're fighting, and she saw this rat man eventually fall, and it's just like, oh, I'm wounded. Tell my sister I love her, and her heart just broke. We finally repelled the assault, and she just fell to her knees beside this dead rat man. And at the end of the night, they were finding their way back, and they were back by St. Cabarrus's tomb. And Jackie saw this as sort of her turning moment. She realized that maybe all creatures do have the potential for goodness. So she took her sword that she had cut down who knows how many orcs and things, not knowing that they had this potential for goodness, and laid it beside the tomb and walked away. And it was like this very emotional moment for her, and it was brilliant. And the sword is still there. Eric locked it down outside the tomb, which heart.
I
So every time someone sends me a screenshot of her sword next to this tomb, it just like breaks my heart again.
That's
And
great.
it's wonderful.
So there's a lot to unpack there. The first is that I have seen that sword, and I'm like, why is this sword here? That's awesome. So now I know, and that's super cool. And then, just to be clear, that was on a Tuesday night tavern night. Is that right? Yeah. So Lucy, you host these Tuesday night tavern nights, and it's just people go to this tavern that is around Hailstorm, right? It's in the city, right? And people go there and they talk about their adventures that they've had over the last week, and they have drinks and have a good time. Am I on base here? Am I right?
Yeah. So I run a weekly tavern night at the Postern Gate Tavern, which is the tavern in Hailstone. When I actually started, the way that I joined the Knights Guild was the person who used to run their tavern was kind of falling out of the game, and they needed someone to pick it up. So I was like, well, whatever. Sounds like fun. And actually, when I started running tavern, a whole bunch of different guilds were in the RP community were doing taverns as well. I went to one that Vile hosted at their Laughing Corpse Tavern, I think. Sometimes we do field trips. We go off to other taverns as different community members request. We recently did one at the new Whisperwood Point of Interest in the New Lands. Because the Bear Guild has set up like this huge player town in the area. So we had this we went to this new tavern and we all drank in the beer gardens and stuff, and then we got a tour through their town, and sometimes we do like RP skirmishes after tavern, and it's become a really it's like this weekly place that people know they can go to have a little bit of role play. It's often a little lighter than some other stories, but it's a place that you're guaranteed to find someone. So.
That's cool. And who knows, you might become a part of history and your sword get locked down in time. So that's cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. All right, let's hear another one.
So I guess I'll chime in next. So there's a couple. So nothing as eloquently spelled out as Lucy has just laid on us. But so thank you for that. That's a hard follow up.
I get to go after that. She got her sword locked down in time. What?
so I'll give two shorter examples that kind of exemplify what I really love about Brigand. So the first one was it involved multiple guilds. And it was the kidnapping series between Brigand and Path. So I don't know if you heard about that, but there was a story arc or like a series of events where the Brigands worked with the Conclave of Shadows to basically concoct almost like a fungal poison with Fungalore, the Wizard of Fungus, which is one of the Conclave members. And so on Tavern Night, this was probably a year ago. We showed up like a number of brigands, and Shoben was there from Path, who was our target. And essentially, we were chatting and getting friendly, and then we kept buying him drinks, and then we ended up putting down the laced drink, and he drank it and became woozy of sorts, and we essentially snatched him up. I think we killed 2 people on the way out. And dragged him back to the brigand home base and put him in a cage and started brainwashing him, essentially. And there was like another couple events that occurred in between that, but essentially he was at Shelter Haven, so right outside of that tunnel that goes to Shelter Island, where they've set up the little RP community now, or the little town. And I believe that it was a couple of our brigands, and Shoben was there, who was in brigand at that point, had left Path, so we had brainwashed him into joining as a lookout. And the Rangers came up and essentially slaughtered my ragtag band of brigands and whisked Shoben back to the safety of Haven. So that was one of those story arcs, but kind of more like I really enjoy more of like the silly kind of like lighthearted events within Brigand. So I think one of them would have been we had been advertising a sobriety checkpoint night where there was probably, it started off with probably like 12 of us, all dressed in like brown tunics, brown floppy hats, brown boots. We looked like state troopers, right? All riding around on llamas, drunk as hell, just hicking all over the place. And we went to various different places, like busy spots, and we would set up like a roadblock with debris and armoires and bookcases, and you know how we do it. And basically making people walk lines, and if they walked the line a little too straight, then we would make them roll dice at the end just to play their luck. And if they didn't roll well, then we would murder them, and then resurrect them, of course. But people were having so much fun with it, just like hooing and hawing, that people that weren't in RP Guild started like joining in and like hanging out. And like I would give them an outfit, they'd toss on the little state trooper outfit, and then they would start like harassing people and like stopping people. And by the end of the night, I think there's a screenshot somewhere on the official Outlands Discord, but there was probably at least 30 people involved between Urk and Brigand and just random people that showed up. We recruited a couple people that night. So like, yeah, that was a pretty fun little role play event, especially considering that we're a drunk band of brigands saying there's been too much drinking on the roads as of late, even by brigand standards.
It is always interesting when and if it's people start seeing it, right, and then they jump in. So like I can remember being on Putar, and we took over Prevelia Bartok, and we were building stuff right in front of the prep vendor, and I remember hearing about that. We just kept yelling "Dis Urklands now," and there was pigs spawning, and it was like good piggy, and like just people were like, "What is happening?" Because it's right in the middle of Prevelia. People are freaking out, and it was really cool. And I'm sure that that always just brings a lot of like questions and interest, especially. So I can definitely see what you guys did, Slip, as something that I'd be like, hold on, I'm stopping here. I got to get an outfit and just spend a good hour or so hanging out and doing that. That's fun. That's a lot of fun.
It's, because there's only so much that, even as expansive as Outlands has become with all the expansions and new content, there's only so much of like, you get to an end game, you have many links, you can blow down most mobs. You get to a point where the game can get stale, as with any game, and then it really becomes about making more experiences and content for yourself, just like out of just using the game mechanics. So like that's like, if it wasn't for Brigand and the roleplay aspect of Outlands and our ability to do that on this server, I would likely have lost interest in playing ages ago. But it's just like we're able to come up with these unique ideas over the course of time, and it really spices things up.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about stories that happened as an offset of the game itself, right? With our imagination, with each other's imagination, improv back and forth, things like that. I can remember a few times that I procced a whole bunch, and it was cool that I killed the monster real quick. But ultimately, what I really remember are the experiences I had running into Fitzel the Goblin, running into Glavos the Guard, and things like that, like running into Nerul out in there and having to give tribute and stuff like that. The Brigands, everybody. Running from Bashot all the time. But the cool thing is with that is that I always get a chance. Like, it was so fun. Last night, for instance, I was running around as a cow trying to, sorry guys, but get people to milk me. And then I'd steal from them. Right? And, you stay as a criminal after this. And anyways, I'm hiding, and then here comes Bashot, and he runs by, and I'm like, oh shit, here we go. And then he comes and he reveals me, and I'm like, sorry, I can explain this witch. She turned me into a cow, and the only way that I was going to get turned back to myself was if I got someone to milk me. And he's like, eyes narrow, looks awkward, you know what I mean? And then by the grace of somebody, another thief comes up and steals from Bashot, and Bashot, stop right there, criminal, and chases him off. And so I got away, and it was just, like, that right there, I'm going to remember. And those are experiences that are found in the game that I think even the slightest bit of role play, it's really just imagination. I think that that really sets this game up for the perfect playground of it.
And you don't even really have to be a hardcore role player to really like, even just staying in character, whatever that may be, whether it's just like talking relevant, in a relevant way to like the time, medieval times, and you're not going to be talking about Discord in game. Even just keeping it like very light level can really kind of like enhance the experiences that you get to have, because like there's so many people, for instance, and I'll keep this short, that we'll run up on and we'll be like, hey, freeze, share your looty, or I'm coming for your booty, or something funny that will spit out. And all too often people they're not into it at all. They'll just run, or sometimes they'll say something negative. And more often than not, they could have just like given me an ale if they had stopped and chatted for even a moment. Like, I get that my name is Red on many of these characters, but giving it a chance. I know I got inducted into the roleplay community when Bayar ran up on me with an orc when I was replacing my wagon, and I slapped my wagon down fast as they ran up, and then they ate my horse. Well, the orc ate my horse as tribute. So, and then I was just like, this is wild. And then I ended up finding their videos on YouTube, which really opened my eyes up to like the possibilities of roleplay on Outlands.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's that emergent gameplay, right? Like this, they can make as many bosses and dungeons, and they're awesome and they're spectacular, and the mechanics can be a ton of fun, but that's not the stuff you remember. I remember, we rounded up a whole bunch of snotlings, stuck them in a schoolroom, and tried to teach them the alphabet. That's the shit I remember.
That's absolute gold.
Yeah.
And there's great ways, as a quick short one, there's great ways to tie the wonderful systems that the staff have made with roleplay. So an easy, fast, recent example is there's a knight from Sir named Scruff, and she role plays Scruff as this very like naive, she loves everyone, she doesn't think anything's bad, and she role plays that she's lost a hand. Somehow in a battle, she's lost a hand. And so she came to us, and we ran a story with her where a bunch of peasants, because she's so naive, we just happened upon her on the side of the road and offered to take her to a healer to fix her hand. And so we ran an event where she had to meet this healer, which was, of course, one of our undead spirits, but in a disguise. And she made Scruff go do basically like fetch quest. But the role play behind it was she's so naive that she doesn't realize that she's participating in her own corruption by gathering these items. So we took it back and we formed a hand for her. And this was all a lead up. She wanted to make an echo. And so I believe it's a shadow aspect, or I think, I'm sorry if I'm wrong, Scruff, but she wanted to make an echo that was a little more combative. So she role played that as when the evil forces in her hand that are corrupting her sort of take over, she switches her echo. And so she's tied that system back to her role play instead of just, oh yeah, I can just be anything. She has a story now for why we jokingly call it Darth Scruff, why she becomes Darth Scruff when she wants to play that echo. So you can take these systems that they've built for us and tie it into a story. And it just makes, I'm sure it makes it even more meaningful for her, as it does for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes it, and it gives you something tangible to work towards, right? And that you're, like you said, she wanted Shadow, and so she's got this story that she's completing and going through before she can achieve that. Which ultimately, I'm assuming that the character probably doesn't even know that they're going to get that. It just kind of happens, or they something. You know what I mean? There's a lot of story in between there. So that's super cool, man. I like that. Definitely. I like that a lot. Awesome. Well, let's see here, Bob. You got anything, man?
Well, I know guild-wise, we were always, proud to be known as like the keepers of the Book of Truth because it was in the Inner Cathedral. We're like, yeah, this was one of the when we would get new players in, we would say, hey, this is the Book of Truth. This is something that we guard. We hold it, very dear to our hearts, and then we show them the rest of the village and such. I think it was also for whatever who had found that the Book of Truth was like scattered all about Abdar. There was Book of Truths all over the place. It was just because of the coding. So Eric, hey, he took it upon himself to kind of make like a story out of it, and he started putting out these really crazy puzzles. So in Path, we were just like, okay, this is the puzzle. Let's everybody brainstorm together and let's try to figure out, what these things are saying, so we can be able to go ahead and figure out what the Book of Truth actually is and get it. So we all just kind of collaborated together as much as we could, went through all the series of events that Eric had put out, and then finally, by the end, yes, we were able to snag the Book of Truth. And instead of it, just being inside of the guild house, there's a small bay, just a little bit northwest of Haven, where there is an island, a little strip. And we put the Book of Truth on that island, and there is a kind of like a little sparkly gate that you can be able to go through to get to the book. And you have Haven guards, little NPCs that are around the Book of Truth. And what's neat is Eric had put in words that the Book of Truth would say whenever you double click on it. So yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
just it's a neat little thing right there.
That's cool.
But then as for me personally, Bob is a tinker, and he loves his explosives, and he talks to a candle. He just talks to a candle. Everybody thinks he's kind of nutty because he's just talking to a candle. Like, what the heck? Well, one of these days, he had found a book that had all kind of gibberish writing in there, but there was blueprint schematics in there, and Bob knows that stuff. So he's trying to figure out, what am I going to do with this book? How I need to get it deciphered so I can be able to read what it is, because it looked like it was some kind of merging of human and machine. Like, okay, I need this in my life. Hold on. Kids got
You're
emergency.
good.
Sorry.
You're good. Shin, tell us something, but also I have a question for you.
Mhm.
Ething. What is ething? When they yell ething, what is that exactly?
I want to pass that over to Hendrik.
So
Okay.
it's Ethang.
Okay.
It comes from Order of the Ebon Skull. And if I can't tell you what it means. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, that's cool. Oh, okay. I was like, that's cool.
It literally means death. It literally means death, but you can think of it sort of like amen from Christianity. It's sort of like a catch-all, like, your will be done, Ethang, or we head out, Ethang. It can mean sort of anything, but it literally means death.
So is there ties with death and the void? Because I can remember there was a lot of talking between void and death and ethang, and the similarities, I guess.
Yeah, you're asking me to nerd out super hard now.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I always see this stuff, and I'm like, well,
So in Ultima lore, the void is basically creation. It's the center where everything is created from. So magic is an offshoot of void, because you're creating things. You're uttering these words of power and creating something in the world. So the void is essentially everything. It's the creation of everything. And in COS, and Vial has this as well, which goes back to the Order of the Ebon Skull. The antithesis of the void is oblivion, which is the destruction of everything. So you always see us talking about entropy, because a thing exists, and through the force of entropy, it's destroyed and dies.
Cool.
So that's how they connect together. But yeah, Ethang literally just means death. It comes from it actually comes from Old Stygian, from Conan. That's where it originally came from back in the 90s. But it just means death, and it can it's a sort of a catch-all phrase for anything. It's like a way of expressing agreement, or it can sort of mean anything.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's really cool. So now I know. Now I know.
Yep.
Which
Now
it's
you-
fitting, very fitting, because all the death. Sometimes they say it when they summon a demon, right? Or they're cheering.
And if a Zaylin or any of the old school folks happens to see this, I'm sorry I revealed the secret.
That's cool. Bob, where were you at, man? What?
All right. So the book, yeah, he had seen that there was a like a human machine kind of melding together. So he knows right and wrong. He just doesn't care. So I know that I can't go over to Pathfinder's Academy because they're going to see something like this, and it's like that's wrong. You can't do that. So instead, I decide, well, let me go ahead and talk to these drow guys because they know a lot of these arcane things. And so that's when I got with Shin and we started collaborating at that point. And Bob kind of handed over the book to them saying, look, let's go ahead and get this deciphered and I'll do something on my part for you guys. So that way we can all scratch each other's backs. I get a deciphered book. You get the thing that you wanted. Well, weeks had passed and Bob hadn't gotten a book and he had done the thing that he was supposed to do. So he finally was like, all right, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there with a small force of people. So I get, all the guys in Pathfinder like, hey, I'm going to need some strong arm here. And like, yeah, cool. We're going to come. We're going to come. And then as I'm ready to go over there, I got bailed out on. There was murderers sighted. So like, look, we got to go. Sorry, Bob. You're on your own. And at that point, I had already started making my way there to the Eternal Lair. And I was like, crap, well, what am I going to do? I'm by myself. And suddenly there's going to be a bunch of drow and vampires and all kinds of stuff that are going to be surrounding me. And one lonely Bob is not going to do very much on his own. So I laid traps all over their library. And I just sat there and waited for them. And they came up and I just started emoting click over and over and over. And they were like, what is this click sound? I'm like, look, if I don't click this in this certain way, all of these traps blow up and all of your knowledge goes and all of you guys are going to go too. And they're like, well, we're part of the void. I'm like, well, I don't care. Knowledge right here is just going to burn and that's going to go to the void too. And that's going to set you guys back. And yeah, I just kind of fought with them like, look, give me my book. And they're like, no, we're not going to give you the book. You didn't do what you wanted for us. I was like, give me my book. And then eventually it was just like, fine. I know where this is going to go. I'll do things my own way, the Bob way.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I don't know how long he was sitting down there clicking his buttons before we finally made it down there. We're like, what is going on?
Just sitting here clicking.
I think that was maybe my first or second week on Outlands, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is the spot for me."
Yeah.
And I've been friends with Bob ever since because I think I DM'd him right afterwards, like, "That was so cool, that was great," and
Yeah.
that stuff gets you hooked.
And Henrik, before this, you were on UOR Renaissance, is that right?
No, I have
No.
not played since 2004.
Okay.
Yeah, I hadn't played since 2004, and it's funny. Shin talked about your video with Vile.
Yes.
Same story. I happened to see a friend of mine who's not a role player plays, and he watches your content, and he sent me that, and he was like, "Hey, this looks like your people." And I was like, "Oh wow, there are role players there." And so 20 years later, or whatever it was, there I was back at the UO screen again. As soon as Stones played, it all came back, and then I got hooked right away.
There's a reason I put that at the beginning of all my videos.
It's such a good video
Song.
such a good song. Yeah, such a good song.
I remember when you first joined, Henrik, and I took you down to the library and showed you, hey, here's the dark section, and here's all these fun things from OES, and then here's all these other little things. And you're like, I'm going to live here now.
Yeah. Many of the books in the Prevalia Library and the Lair of Eternal Darkness were written, some of them were written by me, but many of them were written by people from OES back on Atlantic. And there's a repository online which I'm assuming either Atropa or Eric or somebody went on there, copied all the books and put them there. And so I'm still in touch with some of the folks from back in the day, and I'm taking pictures with my phone and furiously texting like, "Do you remember writing this book?" and they're still there. They're still there.
If I remember right, Eric is from Atlantic, so that's why he had pulled all those books in.
Atropa is too.
Atropa is as well. Atropa was in Order of the Ebon Skull on a character. So between the two of them, they're both Atlantic, diehards, and so either one or both of them have taken all of these old books that people wrote 25 years ago, and you can go read them in the Prev library now.
How cool is that? That is badass. And then for you to come over here, get Shin take you down into the library, and you start double clicking these books, and you're like, I wrote that 20 years ago or 25 years ago, and it be on a server that's been here 5 years, that has got to be like.
It was pretty crazy. I opened one. There's a few copies of stuff that I hadn't seen in 22, 23 years, and I just couldn't believe it. It took me back in time, and it was pretty amazing. The vast majority of it was written by just these amazing role players, and so the fact that they took the time to preserve that it's just shows their level of care to this community on the server.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. It goes back to the stuff you remember and the stories, and it's it happened, right? Like you kind of become a part of your character. Am I right? Like that's another facet of yourself. And so to see something like that has got to be awesome. That's I'm getting goosebumps talking about it, honestly.
It was pretty mind-blowing, and I mean they've got stuff from 98 all the way up till 2005, I think, even that they've taken the time to copy and put it in this world for us. So it's pretty great.
Wow, that's cool. Does Shin I mean, what about a cool, memorable RP event? I mean, I know you've stalked Vile, right? So you could join them.
I'm sitting here trying to think of another one, but like the stalking Bob's explosion there in the lair, or not even the explosion, but I mean that one went on there for couple weeks, and then one of the more memorable ones that I would have to say is whenever I did the house merger with friend of mine. So we did the Kunund and Arachne house merger. You were there for that, and that was whenever they launched their Outlands ID for the finale there. But leading up to that, we had a week's worth of events. We did this little boss hunt where we brought everybody in, and then we killed a boss. We did some little meetings. Bob played a role there. There was a couple others that played some roles there that played other little drow that were followers of Illustrae, and we decided that we were gonna, become these followers of this other goddess, which is the entire, the complete opposite of what Loth is about. This one's about love and freedom and yada yada. So we go on and we pretend that we're going to be this, and everybody in Vile is starting to hate us and wanting our heads, and then that finale there, we bring everybody into the house, and then we sacrifice these 3 drows to Loth, and then it just kind of spirals out from there, and that was a good time, and it was a good story that me and a buddy of mine we wrote together, and that's a guy that I played with whenever I was 11.
Yeah,
he reached back out, and I was like, "Hey, I'm over here playing Ultima. We're over here on Outlands," and then he came over here and started playing, and he still plays to this day. But it's being 11 years old and role playing together, and we're getting to do that all over again. Here we are in our 30s.
Yeah. I've got. Let's see. I've got a PDF that you guys made of that event, and I have footage somewhere of that final part. That was a while back, so
but it just sucked.
It was great.
There was 20 or 30 people that couldn't get in for this event. There was only a select amount that could get in because they decided to launch it on that day. I think Bob was one of the ones that got stuck out. He wasn't able to make it to the event.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like 10 of us maybe that were in there, and everybody's like, I can't log in.
Yeah, it was a tough time, right? But the event was cool. The event was cool either way. So, does anybody here? This is an interesting part, and this would be extremely high level, right? Because I have a feeling this could be a very long discussion. But like the story of Outlands from the beginning to now in the role playing. I mean, like, I don't even know how to illustrate that, or you know, who's at war with who, or something. Just kind of a high level of an understanding of the role playing community. Can anybody kind of spit that out, or is that asking a lot? I'm sure that's asking a lot, but.
I mean, from a super high level, the Dark Alliance, also known as Vile, the Bloodrock clan, the Brigand encampment, and the Conclave are all allied. And I can't speak for the good side. I don't know who's all allied over there, but yeah, we maintain wars. You know, system wise, we maintain wars. Yeah, with the Pathfinders, with the Knights. With the Bears and a few others, just mechanically to make it easier when we have our battles and everything. But it loosely, I don't know, I can't speak for the good side, their actual mechanical alliances, but loosely, it's, you know, the Dark Alliance, the Bloodrock clan, the Brigands, and the Conclave versus the Pathfinders, the Knights Guild, the Bears, and I think that's the main ones.
So Bear is
also in there.
You and yeah.
Oh yeah, and you as well. Yeah.
Bear is relatively new, correct? New to the and they're druids. What is it? What's their town called? Something. It's really pretty name.
Lucy, I remember. She was just
they're called Order of the Druid Bear.
It's like something spring, maybe.
Yeah, it's very pretty, and everyone should go check it out. They did a great job with it.
Yeah.
Did they get a new location?
Yeah, they have a bunch of
new location in Wildlands.
Yeah.
Nice. I need to check that out. I've been gone for a little while.
Yeah, they're great. I've really liked Bear. I mean, I can't speak in terms of the role playing community, but I can definitely speak in terms of I think Bear's a great growing guild with a lot of good dedicated players to, you know, helping everybody have a good time. So I like Bear.
So Bear, they are in Whisperwood.
Whisperwood, that's it.
They're right there by the Whisperwood College, or not college, Whisperwood Cottage Tavern at POI.
That's cool. And so they're good guys.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that they're a little more kind of on the more neutral side, but yeah, they tend to ally with the good guys when, you know, shit hits the fan. I find that there's like Henrik had said, there's a very sort of solid divide between like good and evil on Outlands. There's not so many people or guilds that are really focused in that middle ground. And it's always fun when a little one pops up. I've done a bit of role play with a few people from Lorne, which I think is a bit of a newer one. For a little while, there was an offshoot of U called Camp that was a lot of fun to role play with. And then, of course, there were the Wildlings, which were trying to be a little more neutral, but I think we just turned into murderers in the end. But yeah, it's fun.
And Wildlings, is that Wild, W-I-L-D?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, cool. That's cool. Awesome.
And, yeah, we played like the natives of the Wildlands. We were trying to drive out the settlers as they came in, but they were just far too many in number.
Yeah, they like tripled, right?
Yeah.
That's great.
Even
I have actually had some encounters with Bear where they have not so much in role play, but where they have actually aided the Brigands in combat against. There was a notable time where the whole RP community actually came together to fight GG. And that was an awesome example of how, you know, we're all kind of frenemies in a way, you know, like, yeah, like we play scumbags. And of course, Pat wants to kill the scumbags that are robbing people. But when it came to an outer force like GG trying to encroach on our community, we it was awesome how everybody Path came together. I don't know that I saw any Sir there, but it was Path, some U, and like a whole bunch of other good RPers. And then we ended up sailing to the GG's guild island and sieging their guild house. And
that's great.
it was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
We ended up in the guild house. I mean, there's a whole video on it that you could look at later. But yeah, it was glorious.
Yeah. If you could send me that link, I'd love to watch that. I'm sure that was really cool.
It was awesome. They sailed away on a boat when they started overnumbering us. Some people hopped on a boat and got away. It was great.
I'm sure you guys got a lot of DMs of like, dude, that was awesome. Thanks, And
that PvP channel was lit
the PvP channel
hilarious.
blew up.
Yeah,
it was great.
The community is, even though we're enemies, it's very collaborative and cooperative. Like 2 examples I can give you is back before the changes to where before you got your land secured for 30 minutes or whatever to replace a house, I wanted to switch the type of house I had, and Bob and Bad Shot came because they had tracking and detect, and they walked the whole area to make sure it was clear for me. Or Lucy has several times played like various undead NPCs and stuff for little things that we want to do. I've played a friar for Sir a few times, so we're all the characters might be enemies, but the players are all friends.
Yeah, totally. And Tavern is the same deal. Like Jackie tries to run it as sort of an Elysium, so anyone can come. We have orcs and brigands, and we've had vampires and werewolves come into Hailstone and sit down and have a beer, and it's always a little awkward and a little weird, but it's fun, right? But yeah, Reds come, we're all on the same side. We rush out the doors, and we're mobbing the Reds, and it's we're all on the same side in the end.
Yeah, that's a golden rule in the community. And the golden rule is that we work together. If somebody tries to interfere with our events, then all the role players band together and fight together, so we can continue doing our things. Yeah. So even if you're Red Orc or a Pathfinder or Sir, we unite together against the outsiders.
Yeah, that's cool. I would like to have some grog with a werewolf. I think.
But the funny thing is, back when you had like pure role-playing servers, the role players were pretty bad at PvP. But here on Outlands, actually many of the best PvPers are role players too. So when you get somebody to that wants to start a fight with a role player, then you can have a role play player, but he's pretty potent in PvP too. So it can kick the ass of the so-called PvP player.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, not all Reds are good. Trust me, right? You guys have found that out, right? That's good. What? Speaking of pure roleplay servers, Requiem. Requiem is a really cool server that I've kind of looked at a few times. They have some like really intense RP roles and things like that, and they do some pretty good art too. So I like them a lot. Have you guys is there any crossover with any of the players over there that maybe play on both shards, or role play here and there, anything like that you guys have ran into?
I played over there for a time, and yeah, it's beautiful, and I definitely enjoyed my time there. And one of our other members has played there before, so I'm sure there's a crossover. I don't think it's been talked about a lot, but yeah, it's a beautiful shard.
You were over there trying to destroy it, right? Because you destroy shards. No,
I played. I had a good character over there, from what I remember.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So, what are some like things that you guys would like to see Outlands do for the RP community, or just the game in general?
Evil hued chivalry.
Yes, sir.
That's a big one.
What do you mean by that?
So all we're asking,
something other than gold.
Yeah. Okay. When you press Divine Fury, right, you get that golden swirl. Make it red or gray or something, and
like your anti-paladin.
Yeah. And every RPer well, except for the knights, but everyone but the knights will buy it immediately.
Or Urks.
Yeah.
Urks can't
Oh
use
yeah,
chivalry.
that's true. Orcs can't use chivalry, but the
So you're
non-orcs,
thinking like
you
a
know,
customization, right? Like
yeah,
a
yeah,
gold sync. Okay,
yeah.
that's
And
awesome.
all it has to
Yeah, like a
be
spell you.
is just a different color. Like it functions precisely the same. It's just say gray instead of gold, and you
Yeah.
can toggle that just like a spell hue. Yeah, we would all love to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that often comes up in the suggestion channel by a role player to change the hue on the chivalry.
That's I like that a lot. Yeah, that would be really good. Be really good.
I'm sure plenty of non-RPers would buy it too, just because it would be something different and look cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I would. And
There
I don't
we
even
go.
play a Dexter a lot, but I would.
It is. You know, it's hard to ask for much because you know, we're so fortunate to have Eric and Atropa who will, if they can make it happen for us, they will. So
Yeah.
we're already so fortunate to have that it feels selfish to really ask for much. But you know, we're very thankful to have them. We appreciate their help and Owen and the team for allowing them to do what they do to help us. So I think I could safely speak for the whole community that we're already so fortunate to have those two to help us that it's hard to ask for much more.
Yeah,
I agree
I
with it.
totally feel that. Like little things, you know, sure. You know, being able to scale game boards, that would be huge. Can't play chess when you need a magnifying glass to play it. That kind of sucks. And like just tiny things. Making polymorph a little more usable because it's such a there's so much potential for role play there. But I mean, these are tiny little things, right? They do so much for the community, and it's super hard to ask for anything because this is honestly the most engagement that I've seen a server give a roleplay community. I mean, granted, I haven't played any of the roleplay specific servers, but yeah.
I
They
think one
really
of the
do work really well
beauties-
with you. Go ahead, Bark Talk.
Yeah, I think one of the beauties with, of course, the game Ultima Online, when I listen to all the stories, it's most of it doesn't have a mechanic for it, so it becomes so much what you make of your own. I mean, how you play it out. So, say that Outlands implemented the Orcish race. I don't think that would have been relatively good because then you would have John or Dave the orc, and that doesn't really feel orcish. And of course, they don't speak the language either. So I like with how simple the game is, but at the same time, you have so much freedom and to express your own creativity in the game. So it becomes something truly unique, something you don't get in any other game.
Yeah, I think what you just said, the simplicity and really allows you to make your own details and imagine your own thing. I mean, I've never heard that take, Bard Talk, on the orc race thing, but that makes perfect sense. I like it.
Yeah, we talked a lot about it in the clan. I mean, if you compare to a game like WoW, you play the horde, you can play orc, but you don't really get the feeling that you play together with an orc. I mean, it's just a human with a different hue or something. So what you have here in Ultima with the character, of course, is a human. Everybody's the same. But you put on the orc mask, you put on the clothing, the different orcish type of weapons. I mean, we have restriction what kind of weapons you can use. Then you really get the feeling that you meet an actual orc. Has an orcish name, speaks orcish, behave orcish. So it's something completely different.
If you want to be an orc, you'll be an orc, you know?
Yes.
Yeah,
you have to put some effort into it, but you really get to feel that you're an orc as well, and the community gets to feel that they meet an orc, play with an orc.
Yeah, and to build on that, there, like you can spot a snotling from a mile away, and I pretty much think everybody on this server can recognize that bucket and pants, and they know that's a snotling.
The old chicken helm.
It lets you really flex your imagination. You know, like all it takes is a 5 gold book from a scribe NPC, and you just write in there this is a scrap of bloody clothing, and now it's that. So there is an elegance in that simplicity of just flex your imagination. Or when Bob trapped the lair, I forget if you used actual traps but he took something.
Just
Maybe it was
simple.
even
Oh, he had actual traps.
I couldn't remember if it was actual traps or what, but then he described through emotes what was there. And so his imagination did such a good job of telling that story to us. So
Yeah.
the simplicity of it really does let you just sort of flex your imagination on it.
I think Jorax is still hearing the clicking to this day.
Click, click. That's good. That's good. Okay, so how does one, we kind of talked a little bit as far as like a guild and stuff, but I mean, like, how does one, say I'm a new player and, I'm listening to this, we'll say, or I run into somebody out in the wild, like, how does one get involved in the role-playing community? Maybe they don't know if they want to play a drow, a brigand, a knight, whatever it is. They don't know what they want to do, but they know they want to get involved in the role-playing community. What would you guys suggest for that person?
Biggest thing is probably just hop in the role playing channel there in the Outlands Discord. Like somebody's always watching that, whether it's good, it's bad, somebody's there watching. Or you can, like, if you wanted to take it a step further, you can look at the recruitment channels. Like you can see what those guilds are about. I'm sure some of them also have some YouTube videos or things of that nature. Like those are the two places that I would start looking. Or even, over on your channel, like you've got a lot of different role-playing stuff in there. You've been with Vile, you've got a lot of path stuff going on right now with the time dungeons. Like there's a multitude of avenues that you could go down.
Yeah, this is what I like when somebody comes into the channel as well. Whoever they meet, they ask, what kind of character do you want to play and what kind of guild do you want to join? And the new player explains it and tells what they want to do, and then the players point them in the right direction. It's not like being a huge ego that, okay, if you don't want to join my guild, I can't help you. But it's just this skill is available, this skill, and then they describe what each guild stands for, and then the new player can pick it themselves. So in a way, we try to recruit for each other as well. Because any member that joins the RP community is a huge boon to all of us. I mean, we coexist together, so so we try to help each other out.
We have cross members too. Like we have people in Brigands and they're over in Vile, and then we've got some in Path, and we got some in Sur. Like we co-mingle, but we don't spy on each other and try to run each other's day, but we want everybody to feel included and find, whether you want to play good or bad or you want to play both, like you can do so. Like everybody allows that. Like we're a very tight-knit community, but we're also very loose whenever it comes to where you want to play and how you want to play.
You're not metagaming the role play of like, I saw their Discord and they're gonna attack here.
And a lot of us are all in each other's Discords too. Yeah. We have a central location where we have our ROE posted. If there's some sort of complaint that comes up, like so and so looted my body, or things of that nature, we'll be like, okay, well, we'll figure out why this happened. Do we need to give them their items back? Like things like that. Because at the end of the day, we are frenemies. Like we're not out to ruin each other's day. Like we're here to have a good time, write stories, and play together.
I feel like Barg and Shin both really nailed it with the word community. Like it's really more about the RP community than the individual RP guilds. And I feel like if Ultima didn't have the guild system, we would still be a community pointing people toward, go talk to these creepy dudes over by the graveyard, or, oh, you're feeling a little more orky? Well, go hang out by the orc fort. Yeah. You're an elf. Oh, cool. Well, where are we going to put elves? Why don't you, check out you or talk to Path? Where do you fit best? We're a community before these little guilds, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree, Lucy.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, we will even, even though we role play this, shadowy behind the curtain cult, that's just our characters. We as players want people to come see what we're about and engage in it and experience it. So anytime we run anything, we will post it in the roleplay channel, and anyone is welcome to attend. It doesn't matter if you're Pwn Star from the Mindoc Syndicate. We'll have you put on a dark blue robe, and for the purposes of that roleplay, you're a member of our conclave. We just pretend you're someone. Lucy could show up on Fitzel, but it's not actually Fitzel. It's just a member of the conclave. So, and I would venture to say any of these guilds would do the same thing. You could just say, hey, Bob, I'm interested in the Pathfinders. I don't know if I want to make a character yet. Can I just hang out? I'm pretty sure I could speak for all of these folks that they would say, "Yeah, come give us a try. Come enjoy the RP." Because we're not exclusive. We want people to engage with us and come have fun and try a different aspect of this game. So yeah, you come to the roleplay channel, talk to absolutely any of us. We'll put you in the right direction. You can try everything out. And that's what it's about. It's about the role play, the experience, and a good time. None of us really cares about prestige. We don't care about that stuff. We just want to role play and have a good time. We don't care what guild you join. We just want you to join our community and make it better with your presence.
It's awesome, man. Well said. I like it.
Yeah, I agree. And if you compare, if you join a PVM guild, you most of those hardcore guilds, there's like one guild only. In this community, you can be a part of every guild if you want. You can have a character in every guild and just play that different personality, different background out with a different gang. So you don't have to tell about all your characters. You don't have to invest all your time into one guild. It's much more loose and a huge trust system.
Like it.
Or don't join any guild, just come roleplay. That's fine too.
True.
That's fine too.
I definitely think tagging along has been very. We've had a lot of influx of recruits lately because I've been promoting people to kind of tag along in the Thieves PvP channel, and group thieving is apparently not really something that people have ever thought about doing a whole lot of. And the people that have tagged along have had a lot of fun. There's been a couple that it wasn't quite for, but tagging along with any guild when they post events, I really can't agree more, is really the best way to either that or put yourself in these people's territory and just be ready to role play organically, whether you're by the Brigand Pond and a murderer runs up. Like, if being familiar with what guilds are role play guilds will also keep you from just getting murdered or missing an opportunity to join. So it's like, if you want to be a knight, maybe go hang out in Sir's Tavern, especially on Tavern Night. That would be a great opportunity. So just kind of, if you don't want to reach out over Discord, if you're not one of those types of people and you want to actually end up doing it in game, like it sounds like Shin did, that's, just know what you're looking for and, try things out.
Yeah, I'd say that Tavern Night's probably a big one because I've seen people come into that and then they kind of find their little place that they want to land at, and it's a nice thing that got started. I don't remember exactly who started it, and I know Vile kind of fell off of it. We're looking at doing that again, and we had like a rotation of Thursdays. I think Jorax did it there for a little while at his little speakeasy, but we are working on another tavern in another little area and trying to get that back up and rolling again.
I think it was Tibble who had suggested it at first, and then we all were like, yeah, let's everybody get a tavern going, and we'll just rotate through each guild and do a tavern night at each guild. But then it was like, okay, tavern night every single night gets a little too much.
Yeah, it got to be an awful lot when we had, like, I think there were 4 different guilds that were running tavern, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday kind of thing. And it was like, oh my God, guys, I love tavern roleplay, but this is so much tavern roleplay. I did just want to drop in a little sneaky tip for any altaholics out there, people who love having tons and tons of characters and can't really find exactly what they want to do. If you have 80 stealing and 80 snooping, you can use one of those delightful little disguise kits and you can be anybody. It's the most. It is the hack for alt people who have too many alts. I don't know how many characters I've rolled up to random events on Fitzel, because I had like a drow that I would go out as. I had this little sort of roguey adventurer woman that would go out every once in a while. Sometimes it would just be Fitzel. I've, as Henrik had noted, I've played a couple of undead for them, and a disguise kit, you can be anybody without needing to roll a whole new character. It's great.
I like it. Well, cool. Guys, first off, does anybody have anything else that they want to touch on real quick?
I mean, the biggest thing probably is, thanking the staff that allows us to play this game and to have this community. I know, like, they oftentimes get kind of like a bad rap because there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of emotions flying around. There's a lot of stupidity that happens. But at the end of the day, they allow us to play this game. And, just thanks for that. Thanks for letting us do that.
Yeah. Atropa and Eric are just true gems that help us bring this all to life.
Yeah.
They add that extra spice to those events and such, which is really nice. Oh, the tablet.
Oh, Pwn's getting his too. I think probably all of us own it. I own it too.
I still got to get mine. I was in the middle of moving and I wasn't sure where it was going to land, so I didn't buy one yet.
And and the only other thing I can think to add to that, which we've all kind of already said, is when you join this community, you really do get the whole community.
Yeah.
I could send Bob or Lucy or Slip or anyone a message at any time. Hey, I need help with this. Can you help? And they'll round up anybody that they can and they'll come help you, and vice versa. We will all do that for each other. So you really do get the benefit of the whole community just by jumping in with any of us. You get all of us.
That's definitely great. Yeah, that's for sure. Just the other day, being in what was it? It was Mausoleum on my scumbag brigand. That's a blue, and I happened to get blown up, and I had a full invol plate set, Averite staff. Like, I was loaded, and I'm just watching this stealther creep up ever so slowly to my body, and I'm like, you piece of, and he loots me, of course. But then I end up running into Ranches, I think his name is. It's a Path Ranger, the last person I would ever expect to have help with in a dungeon. And here he is with my invol set and my staff. And so it's a great example of how we really do have our backs. I mean, they probably would have done that for any blue, but I mean, then again, like, I'm a brigand. Like, you wouldn't expect the Rangers to return. I mean, I don't know how much that set cost, but it's not cheap. So it's really great. I would just recommend. I had never even considered role playing on Ultima ever until I ran into the Brigands just organically. So, if you get the chance, you might not be a role player, but just be open to it. And you might end up finding a whole other aspect of the game that, or other games even, that you just have been missing out on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a big thing, man. Just like what you said, that you don't really know till you try. And, and I think a lot of people are like, wait, what, role playing? What? But then it's like, I mean, dude, we're playing a 30-year-old wizard game. I mean, it's okay to just pretend that you're your character for a little bit.
Just be it. Yeah, just be it.
Just own it, man.
You watch Game of Thrones and you get into that story. You're just telling your own story instead of watching someone else's.
Right. I mean, how many times have you watched a TV show and then, on a commercial or whatever, turned and looked at your dog or your cat and started acting like you were that person? You know what I mean? Like, it happens.
You can go on YouTube and type in, Red Wedding reaction and watch people lose their mind over these characters. But then they would, make fun of us for being role players. It's like, you're doing the same thing, whether you realize it or not. You are inserting yourself into that world. Yeah. We just do it a little more interactively versus just watching it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
Everybody has a little bit of RP in them, especially players that play Ultima.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it goes back to what I had said too, of like, I really wasn't extremely experienced in it. And my first event, nobody was like, man, Pwn Star sucks at this. It was very open and allowing me to stumble on what I may or may not say and know exactly what to say back and react to. No one batted an eye at that. It was just like, I'm just glad there's another person here to hang out.
Yeah, nobody here will ever make fun of you. Jimi Hendrix's first gig wasn't Woodstock. There's everything from very light RP to super immersive, and there's everything in that whole spectrum. So there's a place for everyone, regardless of what their interest level is.
Yeah,
unless you're a snotling and you're around Narul and he has his club.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
then your place is just in the dirt, right?
Learn.
He's right. He's right.
Yeah, that's great. Well, guys, I really appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Henrik, dude, I was excited when you approached me with this, but this, in my opinion, turned out 1,000 times better than what I even thought. This is again another one of those where it's like, man, I really could just keep going. Like, we could talk all night, and then I'm like fired up, and I'll be looking in the role playing channel and come hang out in an event and stuff. I just did the Critter Glomp out there at the Erg Fort. That was fun. So
yeah, Zurek from Erg. If you the stuff he puts on. Watch for the Roleplay channel. He puts on phenomenal events that anyone is welcome to attend. He works so hard on them, and they're so fun.
Yeah.
Critter Clomp or the totally legally distinct Hungry Games.
Yes.
Hungry
Very
Games.
different. Very different.
That's great. That's great. Oh, and the I liked the zombie thing. Oh my gosh, we're getting close to Halloween.
Great.
We're getting close to Halloween.
We got to do that
something
again.
special cooking for you guys this year.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's great. Cool.
I look forward to it.
Well, on that note, guys, thanks again. I appreciate you all.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thanks for having
Thanks
us.
for having us.
It was fun.
All right. Huzzah.